What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage. Second time in the same day that I got Jeremy Forcier on Zoom and in our community. What's up, brother?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So was that call today pretty special?
Call was great, man. So much good information, and there's a lot. I learned a lot, so I had a few takeaways for me that I need to execute immediately as well. So I thought it was super. It's beneficial for me. It's beneficial for everyone.
Well, thank you for helping bring Gavin Ekstrom into this mission we have. I've known that guy for a lot of years and knew that he was just super successful, just the kind of people that helps change the industry for the better. So, and I do believe that he probably wouldn't be a mortgage coach today if it wasn't for you, your friendship and, you and what you've done with this community. He was just following your lead, bro. So thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, man. He's a special dude. That's for sure. He inspires me all the time.
Yeah, no, I love that call. So bro, I am writing an article that some of it will be in Housing Wire. It's going to be promoted in the Crispin Report. It's going to be on social media. And I'm probably putting the most amount of effort and time in creating a piece of content I've ever done. And the reason for doing it is I feel like I've been in this business for 30 years and I've never seen a year like this where rates went up 2% in a single year. Inventory is in 2 months, inventory crisis. And so while there's a lot of really negative, challenging things, but usually when there's like a market like this, we're all just screwed, and it's just like right size your business, get through the storm. And in this market, like there's a lot of equity out there. And while purchase is down, like this, there's kind of like this dual opportunity market. And I really believe that this is one of those markets where the best will more than survive. They'll pick up market share. And then I do believe it's ever been more clear that rates are going to drop again. And there's just going to be this huge opportunity if you're planting seeds and you're doing the right thing. So it's like a unique market. And so I want to do this halftime show, unpack the data points and the brutal realities, and then identify what are the best opportunities. Like what are the best CEOs? What are the best heads of production? What are the best leaders in the street doing? So that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to ask you the same questions I just asked Clayton Collins, who's the CEO of Housing Wire. And I started with, what are the data points in the brutal reality that we're facing? Like if there were 3 data points that are going on in this market, negative and positive, that are impacting opportunities in the market, what are those?
Interesting. So I'm obviously not a C-suite executive, so I'm going to give you my answers as a loan officer. So the 3 data points that I'm following right now daily and trying to come up with my own outlook for the second half of the year as well by talking to my clients is number one, how fast are homes selling, right? Like in my market, the average time a home is on the market before receiving offers, if not multiple offers, was like 7 days, over the last 18 months. So a lot of my clients, and I'm using trigger leads for this, by the way, to collect my data points because I'm getting the alerts that people are listing their houses, right? And I'm following up with them, just got the phone with the Johnstons, literally right before this call. And they were like, hey, we've been on for 2 weeks. We feel like we're priced really well. And we've had 8 groups come through total, and we haven't had an offer yet. So I am seeing it definitely slow down on the number of offers that are coming. So I am looking at not just inventory increasing, which is the second data point, increasing inventory, but I'm also just looking at how many days on the market before go under contract. And, it looks like we've doubled in my market just over the last month of number of days on market before going into contract. So I think those are 2 really, really, really important data points that I'm paying attention to. If I was going to give a third, it would be that over a third of our pre-approved pipeline is no longer qualified for where they want to purchase, right? So that leaves them 2 different options. So once again, over a third, so 33% of our pre-approved pipeline that hasn't purchased yet doesn't qualify for the purchase price that they wanted to be in. So those people have 2 different options, and I'll tell you which one they're going with. One option is to restructure their expectations and look at a lower purchase price or an alternative market meaning outside of where they were looking for something they can afford at the price they want to be at. Or number two, which is what most of them are opting to do, is to wait. Okay, is to wait and see how things go. And so those are the three data points that I am paying attention to from a consumer standpoint, talking to all my clients, et cetera, on a day-to-day basis right now.
Yeah, and just a reminder, like when we write this article, and I'm writing it with Kristen Messerly, we're going to include rates have gone up by X. We'll have a chart. We're going to, talk about the fact that this still looks like it could be the third best year in the past decade in the mortgage industry. So there's tons of equity in America and there's opportunity, but well, I'll get to the opportunity in a minute. So those are Jeremy's 3 data points. Now, what about just industry trends? Like think of it, and however you want to answer this, there's no kind of right direction, but when you think of just industry trends that are impacting how you approach this market, what are some trends that you see?
Yeah, so number one trend that I'm seeing obviously is, and I shouldn't say obviously, but for me is that adjustable rate mortgages just being pushed, really hard. So, that's a trend that usually starts with small regional banks and credit unions that create that market before others want to create a broader market for it. So I'm seeing they have, the most competitive ARM products, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. And I'm seeing, but with that said, that trend isn't what people want when I'm talking to them. So you can bring up adjustable rate mortgages and lower payments, et cetera. At least I can, and I'm having those conversations. And people that my experience is they're not nearly as open or interested to it because of the emotions from the last big correction. Okay.
Right.
Is that they are associating ARMs. So even though ARMs might be priced really well, or that would be a trend that people are looking for ARMs, or they think, or salespeople think they should be selling ARMs. I'm not seeing that really have a real big thirst in the market at all, personally. So I'm seeing that trend be pushed to us like that's something that we should be doing. But I actually think that it's not congruent with what the consumer wants and what they feel is safe and best for their family.
What's another trend?
So another trend that I'm seeing internally with loan officers that work for me is afraid to sell what the rate actually costs, like the real rate. Okay, not the it's 0 points or it's 1 point or it's like the rounding factor, right? Is that I think people are scared to tell people what something actually costs, and I felt like that's been a really big trend that I've been dealing with educating not only consumers but loan officers and understanding that it's not as simple as just saying here is a 1 point loan, a 0 point loan, and a no cost loan where you can get a credit for all your closing costs, especially if those premium pricings don't exist anymore. So that would be, a second trend is getting used to real education and not just falling back on what does someone expect based on what you did with them last time, because we're in different circumstances in this market. So we need to educate people with what is actually going on in this market for sure. Then the third biggest trend I'm seeing, which is the most alarming for me, by the way, is the super high level of inquiries for home equity line of credits. That tells me that people are nervous. That tells me that people maybe feel either spread thin or their dollar isn't going as far as it used to, and they want to be prepared if something were to go wrong and have something to fall back on.
So this second, so ARMs going up, loan officers fear. I have a thesis that it's because they just don't know how to sell in this market, and it's sell and educate. Like, seen that conversation that you and Gavin had earlier today. Like, you were 2 guys that were like, how to kill it in this market, but it was really just like they need to be completely retrained on how to have the conversation in this market and how to be an educator and advisor, and they just don't know what it sounds like, and they don't know how to do it.
That's correct.
And then now the HELOC. My theory on that, it is a combination of what you just said, that, consumers want to make sure they have access to capital because, recession is either here, well, it's here, just a question of it technically being reported by the definition of that, but they got a lot of equity, and there's some new HELOC players that have some tech and they can qualify them quick. So it's a combination of, hey, we got supply, we got a lot of equity, we got a lot of fear. Let's tap into that. You agree with that?
I do. I think it's a mistake though.
Well, you covered that in detail today.
Yeah.
And by the way, why don't you, if you don't mind, by the way, I've got like another 15 minutes because I have some questions, but do you mind, do you have 15 minutes or do you got to go before that?
Yeah, no, I have an appointment at 4 o'clock. So.
Okay, let's riff on that real quick because I want to make sure any loan officer and any executive that's watching this, and maybe even build this into the article, like almost replay what we did with Gavin and talk about how you do it. And if you have that TCA that you showed, let's even pull that up on the screen and give everybody a little 5-minute micro lesson on how loan officers that are gaining market share and winning in this market, how they're navigating that conversation.
Yeah, well, I think the conversation, first of all, from a navigation standpoint, is always ask better questions. So if someone has a request for something, your first question should always be, great, so why do you want to do this? Right? Not absolutely, we can get one set up, which is a natural reaction that I hear lots of salespeople say. They could ask you for a hot, flaming pile of dog poop, and their first reaction is, yes, absolutely. And then they try to process and figure out what's being asked for. So I think that the first question always should be, why? Like, do you have a specific purpose for this? Right? Do you have a specific purpose for this request? And then you're going to get better information. Because if someone really doesn't have a specific purpose for the request, it's just fear and fear alone, right? And then that's what we really need to address is, well, what are we afraid of, right? Are you losing your job? Are you going into a new job? Are you relocating? Are you needing this as an emergency fund? Or do you not have an emergency fund already? No, I do have an emergency fund.
Or do you want it for an opportunity? Like, oh, I want
Correct.
to just get liquid so I could
Yeah.
invest in real estate when,
Yeah.
you know, or
But most
market.
people aren't thinking that, quite frankly. And that's why I think it's an important trend, is that that's not the reason why I'm getting 99% of those requests.
No, I know.
You know, and that's what's a little unnerving to me, you know, a little bit is that, you know, people didn't save, and they're feeling unsafe. Now, of course, if they have a purpose for it, buy another property, take advantage of opportunities. Yes, there's a great strategy behind that. But I would actually argue that a home equity line of credit still isn't the right answer.
No, you made a great case for it.
Yeah, I would argue that a fixed rate mortgage is a better answer for it, because if someone has a $300,000 first mortgage right now, even if it's at 2.9%, and they get a $250,000, let's call it fixed HE loan on a 20-year term at 7.5%, you know, those payments, when you add them together, are going to be way higher than if they just did a cash out refinance, right, from a cash flow position. And if we know rates are going to go down, well, then we're going to refinance it in the future anyway. And you're going to have a lot easier time doing that on a rate and term refi in the future versus combining a first and a second, which will always be considered a cash out. So these are all the things that we have to be educating on and finding out what the real need is and what they need to use it for, so that we can give like the best options and advice possible.
So anyone listening to this, if you have a question for Jeremy, put it down below. Could you show that TCA that you showed earlier today? And guys, we're live. So if you're, you know, we got a nice little audience on Facebook. If you've got a question for Jeremy, I've only got about 5 more minutes of questions, and we got 10 more minutes of Jeremy. And then also let us know in comments, are you seeing that a lot, you know, in the markets you serve, with the mortgage practice that you have? Are you seeing an uncommon level of requests for HELOCs? Let me know in chat. I want to know, because if you are, I want to make sure we're creating more content around this topic. And so anyway, so Jeremy's going to share his screen, and he's going to show how he has the HELOC versus first conversation with folks.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and just blow this up first of all and get rid of this. And
it's a video on everything, you know.
Yeah, there's a video on it. So this is what just it looked like. This is a real scenario, right? Individual wanting to take about 250,000 out, has a specific purpose for it, currently has a 2.9% interest rate. Show them in the first column, if they take it, you know, just a cash out refi at 5 1/8, the payment's $32.66 total. They're going to get about $243 cash out. Second column, 4.99% interest rate option, payment $32.17, gets them about $240. In the third column, I showed future column, meaning, hey, when interest rates go down, and by the way, I'm not saying this is going to happen for sure, but when you look at interest rates, they always usually go down lower than whatever the lowest low was. So I showed them if it goes back down to 2.9%, which is what you have right now, this is what your payment would be in the future, right? At 25, 26 per month. Now, in the fourth column, I showed a fixed rate home equity loan, second loan at 7.5%. It's on a 20-year term. And that payment alone is $2,013 a month. So the reason why this is so important, right, to take a look at is that this individual's payment right now, right, is like $2,600 a month. So it's like, what you want to increase to $4,600 a month when you could just go to $3,200 a month and have a fixed asset with better flexibility in the future of refinancing, et cetera. I'm not saying you don't have to do this. You can choose whatever you want, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, but I am saying that these options are way better than they appear when you actually break down the numbers. And the reason that's so important is that 9 out of 10 people, I've been doing this a long time, and I can finally say that. I've been doing this a long time now. I'm not a rookie anymore. And so over the last 18 years of doing this, 90% of people that get equity line of credits with me, or a second loan, a home equity loan that's fixed, et cetera, 90% of them come back in the next 3 to 5 years to consolidate those and pay it off. It's really hard to just pay off randomly an extra $250,000. Just think about saving 250 grand, right? In general, that's really what we're talking about. How are you going to save the 250 to pay it off? Whoa, my lights just went out. That was weird. How are you going to save the 250 to pay it off? If you can't even, and they're back on.
It's awesome.
If you don't have that saved already and you haven't already done that, and it just creates a better conversation, Dave, of like, how are we managing finances? What's the best fit for them?
All right. So let's close out with, what are the top 3 opportunities, knowing these dynamics, data, trends, opportunities, strategies, and opportunities? What are 3 that you think are on point and that you're implementing?
Yeah, so I think that, and I can only speak to my market and what I'm seeing. So in my market, I believe that the biggest opportunity is to create contingent sales. Okay, we have to get out of this non-contingent is the only thing we're looking at, waiving contingency, waiving appraisal, waiving everything, going into contract. We need to get back into contingent sales, because there is a glut of inventory of people that don't want to sell because they don't know where they're going to go next. And the only way to get those people into contract and get them listing their houses on the market is to know that they can list their house, and it's going to be contingent upon them finding a replacement property. I think that that is the number one way that we're going to see more inventory and more sales, getting people to move that don't feel like they have nowhere to go. So helping realtors create inventory, I think, is tremendous. And the only way we're going to do that is by us teaching and constantly saying the same things over and over and over again to them, so that they change the way that they're looking at it as well, and not just preaching that all offers must be non-contingent upon a sale of a house. It can't be contingent upon a loan or an appraisal. That has to change, I think, in order to keep this momentum moving forward. Now, the reason why that's so important is that even though I said, which is data point 2, that a third of my pipeline isn't qualified for what they want to buy anymore, there was still like an average of 5 offers on every home in my market, like for the last year. So if a third of those are gone, that means there's still 3, right? There's still 3 people for every house technically that wants to buy. So creating more inventory will just create more transactions, and we have to be a little bit more flexible with the buyers as well.
Got it. Any other opportunities you want to call out?
I mean, I just think that, no, I mean, those are the big opportunities that I'm seeing. Cash out refis, I think that opportunity is dwindling more and more every day personally. Unless someone there's no reason to unlock your equity if you have nothing to do with it and you have no plan and you have no proven track record of saving money. So I think that's a difficult pill to swallow for a lot of people that want to pitch that all the time. But I do believe that.
So tell me what you think of this opportunity, then we'll wrap it up and let you get you to your next meeting. Is that we're seeing loan officers that are gaining market share and lenders that are gaining market share and those that are losing. And part of that is how they manage their database. Like There are mortgage professionals that have this amazing fintech powered CRM, sales boomerang, borrower intelligence to get alerts, mortgage coach, digital presentations, deliver education. And they're actually being able to make the HomeBot, make the case to realtors, hey, give me your database and I'll pull transactions out of it. Give me your database and I'll do a move up analysis, right size your home analysis. Like your database is better off in my database for you. Like you're going to get more deals. So they're growing the data and then they're keeping the customers, they're keeping their database. And then there are some lenders, some loan officers that because they don't have borrower intelligence, they're not getting alerts, they're losing more of their customers and they're not implementing strategies to grow their database. And so I think like this is a market to grow your database and to implement every tech, every system, put your team to work to not grow database, don't lose database. What are your thoughts on that as an opportunity?
No, so I didn't think about it, but I'm doing it every day. Yeah, so it's a huge opportunity. I mean, last month alone, over 71% of my referrals came from database, meaning either current clients I already have, past clients that are coming back, or past client referring me to a friend, a family member, a coworker, et cetera. So that's a huge number, by the way. Usually it's 50% realtor, then 50% spread out through some form of database or business referrals. But I'm noticing that is going way up, which means that we're controlling the point of sale way more than we think. And it couldn't be truer. I mean, just the numbers are proof.
So my thesis, I think it will be proved out after, I'm going to be doing a dozen of these interviews, is that your number one priority, whether you're a lender, C-suite, or whether you're a professional, it's to grow your database and not to lose it. And so that when the next wave, first of all, you're going to survive this market with that mentality. And two, when the next market comes along, if you grew your database and you improved your retention of your database, you're going to kill it. Yep. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, guys, I want to give Jeremy a headspace before his next meeting. Dude, appreciate you, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me on.
All right, give this a like, share it with your mortgage friends. This is a wrap. Stay tuned. By June 15th, I will have posted this state of the industry halftime report with Kristen Messerly. Keep an eye on social media for it.
Thanks, Dave.